nchi and repeal this finance act that is hurting wananchi wa kawaida citizen. Yes, that is my parting shot.
That was go ahead, Wu-Pong.
And that was a great show, one of my favorite shows. This is WRWK, Midlothian, Virginia. And you're about to experience Finding Our Fit with Susanna Wu-Pong Calvert. Of course, she and I, we are finding our fit constantly because that's our theme in life. We gave up all other pretense of finding anything exciting to do except fitting better. I mean, in our 70 or 90 or whatever years, we got to be useful. And I'm sure Barry agrees, although I've never met him. Hey, Barry.
Hello there.
Anyway, enough
Usually.
from me. Take it away, Susanna. I'll bow out.
Thanks, Ron. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Susanna Wu-Pong Calvert. This is Finding Our Fit. And I was just looking back at my notes and realized that Finding Our Fit's been on the air just about 2 years now. So we aired our first live show 2 years ago, day after tomorrow. So happy birthday to us. I should have got a little cake. But thank you for joining us. The purpose of our show is to help us all find our place in this crazy and beautiful world of ours. And in so doing, we will enrich our world and create a brighter future for everyone and everything, especially Earth. I'm also the founder and executive director of the Foundation for Family and Community Healing, whose mission is to also help everyone find our fit through mental, emotional, and relationship resilience skill education. Check us out after the show and find your fit with us at healingedu.org. We do this program to help us make sense of our beautiful and crazy world so that we can choose the more beautiful side of it. Often we focus just on the crazy things in our life, forgetting that the flip side is where we can find and create opportunity, wisdom, and healing. In Finding Our Fit, we focus on learning, growth, and how to become wiser and more resilient by adopting a healthier relationship with ourselves and everybody and everything. It's important to embrace both the yin and the yang, both the challenging and rewarding parts of life, so that we can create balance and conditions for healing. It's a practice that we choose every day. For today's topic, we're taking a look at an ingredient that's so very important for every relationship, and that is trust. Trust has to do with acting in a way that takes the other person's needs, wants, and desires into account, as well as our own. Trust includes treating them as they would want to be treated and communicating what our own needs and boundaries are as well. Trust includes having some shared values and acting in a responsible and consistent manner. It also includes following up on your promises and creating balance in the relationship. At least that's the way that I view trust. We often think about trust in the context of our personal relationships, such as our partner, our spouse, loved ones, friends, or relatives. But trust is also important in business relationships. Think about a person or a company that you do not trust. Do you want to give them money? Do you want to spend time working with them, either as an employer, employee, or partner? Really, trust is important to the success of any relationship. And with business, it can make the difference as to whether your department or organization survives or thrives. I've been in leadership roles literally my entire life, but in full disclosure, I have very little experience working in the world of for-profit businesses. But fortunately for you, we have just the right person to help us understand this topic and why it matters in business and really, to be honest, in life. I could think of no better person to help shed light on this topic than Barry Moore, President and CEO of the Better Business Bureau of Central Virginia, here to discuss Start with Trust. Hi, Barry. Welcome to Finding Our Fit. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, doctor, and thank you so much for this opportunity and happy second anniversary.
Yeah, I know. It just has flown by so fast.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm here.
Well, could you just start with telling our listeners a little bit about yourself, Barry?
I appreciate that. And I have spent about 40 years in the for-profit sector, um, retail in the automobile business, roofing and solar. I own a franchise in dumpsters and porta johns, and then I had a farmers insurance agency. So I've got a vast background in the for-profit world. I have volunteered or been involved. When I was in the auto business in Richmond, we highlighted over 600 nonprofits in the local area, in the Central Virginia area. So I'm very well in tune with what nonprofits strive to do, the good, the bad, and then sometimes the ugly. I'm not sure that everybody is so clear in their mission. Most of them are. And I enjoyed getting to know them. Little did I know, doctor, that I would ever be working and heading up a nonprofit. It is a different way of life and a different way of thinking. And it's my calling. It's where I belong for the rest of my career. And I think my product.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry. I'm in my Buick Encore office. My wife was unfortunately in the hospital, and I had to run out and do this. So anyway, I apologize for not being at my desk. I just couldn't get back in time, so I pulled over on the side of the road. So I'm sorry
Oh
about that.
gosh. Sorry to hear that, Barry. I hope she's
It's
okay.
Yeah. So anyway, but I do enjoy my time with the nonprofit and the leadership. My brand is relevant more now than ever. It's 112 years in existence. We are a nonprofit and we are not a government agency, meaning we have no power to sue people, put them in jail, contrary to popular belief. We just try to talk things out and communicate with a business owner that starts with trust and then a consumer that starts with trust also. It is a two-way street.
Well, I can think of no better person to represent the interests of consumers and businesses here in Central Virginia, Barry. And we're so lucky to have you and your passion for your work and your decades of experience. So, um, so let's talk a little bit about about this topic. Start with trust. So, why did you want to start with trust with this particular topic today, Barry? And what do you mean by trust? I shared with the listeners what I mean by trust.
Sure. And I think there's my generation in school, we had ethics. We were taught to respect. We were taught about honesty. A word meant something, a handshake. Not that I'm that old, but I am older than a big part of the community now. And I believe starting with trust, that's the brand theme for Better Business Bureau. And what it means is a business agreeing, we vet a company in up to 37 areas. We then tell the consumer this is a place that is accredited and we think is a good place to start getting a price and to negotiate with. And then we monitor those companies forever. And we want to make sure that if a consumer has a legitimate issue, that we get them to talk to the business owner and try to talk it out, or the general manager. So often now with the electronic age, we are so quick at lashing out. Everything, if it's the temperature's not right, the air conditioner's off 1 degree, we are complaining to the world. We get on our pulpit and we start, speaking. We get so angry, and it goes back to doctor, the mental health, the anxiety, everything that people deal with, and that your group. That's what I love about your organization and the tools you offer, because our business owners and consumers and all employees need this help. If 70% of the workplace is full of anxiety and mental health issues, however we defined it, if they don't have a toolbox like you offer and your professionalism, you actually offer solutions. You're not just talking about it, you actually have a product that companies can use, family members. We had a big meeting today, and I was talking about our August 15th event with my staff, and I said, I encourage you all, they have a choice. They can keep working or they can come over to the other room and listen. And I said, I encourage you, if you look around the room, 7 out of 10 of us are dealing with anxiety or mental health. Dr. Calvert's going to be there with a few other panelists, and we're going to work through some things and learn about their tools. And I said, if 7 out of 10 in this room are dealing with something, I'll raise my hand first and tell you I'm dealing with something every day. So if her tools can help me, I hope they can help everybody here and our family members. So I think trust is something that can be built. I think it can be, I think you're vulnerable. I think you could make a mistake and not listen. But I think overall, if you start with the theme of trust, everything can work itself out. Mistakes happen. Mistakes, absolutely. We're not perfect. We're human beings, and we're selling man-made goods, and we're counting on all of our employees to do everything right. But if the processes are set up right, from the top of the fish down, the head of the fish, CEO, that's who I want to deal with. I don't care about titles, but I care about the lead because they set the tempo. That leader of the company is setting that tempo for those employees and the customer experience.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for the little plug about the Foundation for Family and Community Healing. And I wish everybody was as clear about the importance of this and as committed to it as you are, Barry. We would we could make so much progress if that were the case. But backing up to this idea of trust, and what a great thing to focus on with your Better Business Bureau nonprofit organization. So foundationally important to having being productive and having good lives and good jobs and workplaces. So can you describe what does trust look and feel like? Like, how does that play out in a workplace or between the consumer and the business they're working with?
Yeah, so I talk firsthand. I had a friend in the auto business call me about a year ago when I took over, a year and a half ago, and said, Barry, you don't really believe in this brand, do you? You just take it as a job, and you were accredited, we're accredited. And I said, I won't use the name, but I said, I got to disagree with you. For 40 years, I have only worked for companies that are accredited, including the ones I own. And I said, I absolutely believe in accreditation. I believe in that commitment, raising your hand as a business leader, saying, I want to be part of that. So what it means is that, again, every process means you've got to listen, that the customer, is, I'm not supposed to say, you're supposed to say customer's always right. And okay, let's agree with that textbook statement. But some business owners, if you've never been in business, you would argue with somebody and say, you don't understand the complaints. You don't understand how unreasonable people are. You don't understand how people try to rip us off. And I do clearly understand it because I've walked in those shoes. So if the processes are in place and there's a place for people to go and talk to and somebody to listen, it's just communication. And you can find out very quickly if somebody ate that piece of steak, that filet mignon, that's $50, and at the end of the meal say, it was too tough, it was no good, I want my money back. And you want to just say, don't ever come back to my restaurant, because that's fraud, right? And consumers do it as much as businesses do. So if the processes are set up, the explanation from my head down, the head of the fish down, all the employees clearly have processes in place to greet a customer, to talk to them, to give them a proposal, a price proposal that's not good for just 10 minutes. It's good for a certain period of time, and you don't try to scam people and take advantage of people, and you just explain it. If those are all in your processes, That's what BBB stands for. That's what accreditation stands for. And then it goes deeper when things start to go awry and go wrong, that we have communication. My staff will take a complaint, send it over to your business, talk to the person that's in charge of it by email, electronically, and ask for a resolution or an explanation. A lot of times it's just an exclamation. We find out at times these complaints that people do, sometimes they're fraudulent, sometimes they're the competitor, but a lot of times it's the customer looked up the wrong company, put the similar name in, and wrote a complaint about a company they don't even know who the person is. And so we try to clear that up also to keep somebody's name. And then, so the employees walk in and trust the employer, and they know the employer is not there just for greed and ego and self-serving, then they're comfortable with where they work. And that was my point to my buddy, that I said, I've always worked for accredited businesses. It doesn't mean I haven't worked for some people that I don't really like. It doesn't mean that they agreed with me on everything. They were the boss, but their cultures were sound. I always worked for people that took care of the customer the right way. And that's all you can ask for, and that's what our brand represents. And I'll get into, very quickly, there's 20 some million companies, let's say, in America, and then we're also in Canada, the BBB brand. And let's say there's 24 million businesses, only 500,000 or fewer are accredited. So you get the cream of the crop. Some people try to apply and they're not getting accredited because of things they've done in the past. They've already proven they do everything in business for money, not for the consumer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is Finding Our Fit. I'm Susanna Wu-Pong Calvert, here with Barry Moore, President and CEO of the Better Business Bureau of Central Virginia. We would love to hear from you listeners. So if you want to talk with Barry, tell him your story or ask questions or get some advice, give us a call at 804-464-1089. Or if you are on Facebook, then pop something in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. So Barry, you talked about having processes in place and listening and with regard to a business working with their customers and to have communication around grievances and work them out. So can you explain or talk about how that process might apply to the employer's relationship with their employees? Is it pretty much the same there too for creating trust, and how important is that with the employees?
Yeah, I think employees need to have, and again, I've had a lot of employees in my life, in all the industries I've been in, and I think what I've learned in small business is job descriptions are key, evaluations are key, expectations, and that all leads to the word accountability. Well, that goes, accountability to start with trust. A business has got to stand accountable for what they've done to a consumer, or their employee did to a consumer, or their process let them down, but they can't let their employee down. But at the same time, the employee has to live up to their bargain, or the other side of the formula. There's two parts to this equation, and it's the employee and the employer. And I always say this: no employer invests $100,000, $1 million, $10 million to open up to fail. It doesn't happen. Scams and fraud, absolutely. They're opening up with no money and they're just preying on people. There's no budget. There's no advertising budget. It's just find a target, take advantage of them, and move on. So for the majority of the majority of businesses opening up to employ people, they're opening up with their whole life savings. They're invested. What else more do we want from a business owner than their full financial commitment? They've signed off, they've put their mortgage up, their property up, and they've taken lines of credit, and they're trying to make a payroll every week. And I think that's where sometimes when we have politicians in the world or nonprofit leaders that clearly have never had to make a payroll, never had to worry about what it's like to have the bottom line net profit a negative number. When you have an automatic stream in a government agency, it's automatic. Their money's coming no matter what. It makes it tough for them to understand when they're a consumer going out to do business. They're probably more critical because they expect everything to just happen. So when the employees walk into a for-profit business, they need to know that owner. I think it's important for the owner to know them, be accessible. There's one thing about an open door policy. My door is always open. I'll let anybody walk in and talk. But if I'm in the middle of something, I'd probably say, just can you wait a minute? So that goes back to respect. But I also respect that the employee has something they need to share, right? And I need to listen. And I'm not always the greatest listener. I get tied down with 5 or 6 directions at once, and sometimes, my anxiety gets up there. And going back to what we just talked about with your products and your tools, your wisdom, helping somebody like me, it's an ongoing thing in life to get better. I'm a 62-year-old leader that has not reached the top of my game, and I never will, but I'll always continue. I just joined the Council of CEOs in Virginia, Council of CEOs, to learn how to be a better CEO. I'm only going to be there X amount of more years, but I have to train my replacement. I've got to train all my people that report to me, even though I'm a nonprofit, that I start with trust, and I live that brand. I'm accountable. I got to teach what it means, and employees have got to know what it means to follow. They don't always know that. Sometimes you want to have 5 employees and all 5 of them want to be the boss and take the vision. You can only have one vision in any company. And I think that's where, starting with trust and being an accredited business, I encourage business owners to write things out. Going back to what I first said, processes, evaluations, talking to people. It's not walk. I'm not a cheerleader. I don't walk. I played sports, and I used to love that little pat on the back and rah rah. But in business, it's too much of that right now, and it's almost, I call them empty suits, and I think I've talked to you about that. I call these people that call themselves leaders empty suits. That doesn't mean I'm the best, but I can tell you this: I'm pretty well versed. I listen very well. I study, and I become a sponge. And so when we talk about mental health, anxiety, recovery, incarceration, or drug use, or fentanyl, the dangers of fentanyl, or the political machine, how it can mess with a company, or taxes, or home building and supplies. I'm pretty well versed at everything. And I think that's what makes a great leader. It took me a long time to get there. There's no book to read.
Well, I think the best leaders and the most successful people are just always on a path of improvement. Because
Yes.
even if you just get 1% better every year, that adds up to a real
Yeah.
competitive edge, as opposed to people who just, are like, I'm good as I am. I mean, we're all good as we are, and we can all improve. And so you were really talking about the importance of, I guess, for both sides to hold up their end of the agreement, right? For the employer
Sure.
to make payroll and to be clear about the expectations with their employees, and to listen to them, and the employees to make sure to do their job. And what you're also saying, like these issues about mental health, you didn't say it explicitly, but what I'm hearing is that it's also important for the workplace, and especially for employers, to be aware of the challenges that people are going through that may not necessarily be any fault of their own, and that to have a successful workplace, we need to take care of people where they're at. Did I paraphrase that accurately, Barry?
I think you know me pretty well, and you listen very well. I'm not a great orator here, but I'm trying to make it as clear as possible. And I appreciate you rephrasing, because that's exactly what I'm saying. And it doesn't matter who's going through what. In my lifetime, in 33 years of marriage and a daughter is 29, I have been, handed different challenges and how to juggle this life and the business life, right? And I hear a lot of people. I had an entrepreneur the other day told me, I pencil out. I had a politician who's no longer in office at a federal level tell me this. They corner off their schedule. They don't give up any of their private time. Unfortunately, if you're an entrepreneur and you're a business leader, I don't even know how that comes out of your mind or your mouth, because what you're verbalizing and you're sharing with your family, you're going to set them up for failure, and your company's going to fail, or you're not going to be reelected to a political federal office, and you're going to be found out pretty quickly. When you get a role, you have to balance, and you could balance. I balanced a 78-hour work week for 20 some years during that part of my career, and I figured it out. I still work 60, 65 hours, and I still balance out. I just don't do the time wasters. I don't do the vices that my buddies do. Like, guys are notorious, right? They're in a golf league, or they're playing 3 rounds of golf a week, or they're bowling, or they're darts, or going to play cards. I've never done any of that. I'm going to be pretty boring at retirement, but I balanced my life. And at the end of it, when I say to my daughter, and I apologize for not being there, I think the balance, she'll tell me at 29, Dad, you were there. You gave us, I'm where I'm at because of things you did. So I never said to my employer or to my employees, I am only going to do so much, but this time is my time with my family. We're too touchable now with the electronic world and the cell phone and everything. And if I was taking 0 calls during my workday as an employer or an entrepreneur, taking 0 emails, 0 calls, 0 interruptions, and then I took my personal time at night, so be it. But that's not real world. We all know that. Kids are calling you during the day. You're dealing with the school. You're going to go run out to pick something up. We got to stop kidding ourselves and stop kidding each other. I think we learned a lot after COVID. I'm not very popular when I go to business meetings, and everybody's telling me, and I look on LinkedIn, and we're all being told by the big corporations, we've got to let people work from home. We've got to understand them. Well, I understand this. You got to have a bottom line, and especially a public company. You're not going to be in office. Your company's going to go out of existence. So there's got to be some more reality. I understand doing things a little bit different. I'm at a whole different level now than I used to be, intensity wise and demanding wise. I've changed, but that comes with time and the world so much. But still, we have to go back and be leaders that say to our employees, we're here for you. We're going to work harder than you. That's not the case anymore. It seems to be there's a couple people out there that get it. But again, my 2 examples, the politician that told me what he was working for and tried to get X amount of years in to get health benefits in the federal office, that didn't work out well. He never got the time in. And this business owner, entrepreneur, I really seriously cut out certain parts, and I will not let things intrude in my family life. Well, then stay with your family. Make a decision. But if you got employees and customers, sorry, you signed up for this and you want the profit. You just don't want to put the work in. You don't dig ditches without digging ditches.
So we are WRWK 93.9 FM. This is Finding Our Fit. I'm Susanna Wu-Pong Calvert, here with Barry Moore, President and CEO of the Better Business Bureau of Central Virginia. We're discussing Start with Trust, a great topic. So grateful to have Barry here with us to discuss it. And we'd love to hear from you as well. So if you have a question or comment or want some advice from our esteemed guest, give us a call at 804-464-1089 or pop something in the chat. Well, I just love hearing over and over from you, Barry, about taking care of the people. And so, like, you talked about how employers would probably benefit from being more flexible and recognizing and attending to the needs of their employees, because that's just real life. And I guess I would just add that, like, if you show devotion to your employees, they'll show devotion to you. Like, you don't get devotion just by paying their paycheck. I mean, you do to some degree, but that only goes so far. But if you capture their hearts too, by serving them with your heart, then they'll serve you with your heart. And I feel like the same thing. So just flipping it back over to the customer side, the same thing is if you're serving your customers with your heart and you're caring about them as people and their needs, and maybe they're having mental health issues too. Maybe they're complaining because, they have something going on, and what they could really benefit from is some kindness and compassion. But being taking care of them as whole people, they're more likely to support you in return. And this whole idea of that whole person theory just is so beautiful and so especially relevant now when there's labor shortages and so much stress and everything's so competitive as always, and especially with the global marketplace. It seems to me the only sensible way to go about it is to really take care of the people. It'll give you a competitive edge, I would imagine, but it's also just so much better for one's heart. I mean, I just enjoy my work. It's so much more meaningful when I'm forming relationships with the people I work with or that I'm serving, as opposed to just seeing how can I squeeze $1 out of them.
Right.
Well, that's wonderful, and I'm just really grateful that you are such a wonderful example of a servant leader and a visionary in our community. It's just making the Richmond economy so much healthier and more vibrant. So we've been talking about what trust looks like. Why does this matter? So if you could zoom back out, like why does trust matter in the workplace or in businesses with their customers?
Sure.
What happens when there's
Well,
not?
yeah, it's interesting. Today I started the morning at the chamber in Richmond. Brian Anderson had Senator Tim Kaine in, and he talked about the workplace, and it was interesting listening. And and everybody in the room, there was probably 50 businesses there, and everybody's saying the same thing. It's hard to find people, and now it's we don't have to find people anymore. We just got to find human beings that got the aptitude or the attitude to then grow them. And isn't that a novel idea? I've been doing that for about 25 years because a lot of people didn't raise their hand like I did out of college, say, I want to get in the car business. So I've had to do that. Nobody raised their hand and said, I want to be a car mechanic. So 25 years ago, I had to go to the colleges or find kids to put through college and to make them a great tradesperson. So it's funny now seeing the world catching up to the world I've been living in. So sometimes I sit in meetings and I'm saying, boy, that sounds like a new idea in their mind. And meanwhile, it's been happening for generation now. And I think starting with trust, a big formula, a lot of companies will spend $5,000-$10,000 to bring one day consultant in, right? $5,000-$10,000. I don't know who's worth that kind of money just coming in and talking if they're not leaving tools or something behind other than a workbook that gets placed in the bottom of a desk. And I think that's where your product, I don't know, whatever you charge is not the point, but you leave behind modules, I call them. And I know I never talk the right language, but I explain it in my simple mind. You leave modules behind that my employees can sign on and get the help they need right then. And so I think the buzzwords of these consultants: attract, satisfy, retain. Well, isn't that a novel idea? So, and then they change all the words around and they charge another $5,000 to consult. And what does it mean? Well, to attract the employee that you want to take care of your customer has to be in your eyes and your mind and on paper. You have got to paint that picture of that perfect poster child that you want to take care of your client, because you're going to spend money on advertising, taxes, rent, product, inventory, development. And the problem is you never take the time as a business leader to write down who you want. Well, first you got to know who you are. So, okay, you're accredited. That's where my brand is the glue for everybody else. I want you to belong to the chamber. I want you to be a Rotarian like you are, Doc, and like I was. There's nothing better than being a Rotarian. There's nothing better than being a member of Executive Women's International. Nothing better than going to RVA Works and getting an entrepreneurship degree with over at U of R, and it's affordable, or Council of CEOs. Um, Once you become a brand of ours and you get vetted, and you then stand for what we stand for, again, honesty, ethics, respect, and then you transform that over to your workforce, and you attract, when you're asking the people to apply to your place, don't worry about their past experience. Ask them if they start with trust. It's very basic. So if you're an accredited business, what do you want? You want employees that stand for what you stand for. You want your vendors to be accredited. You don't want to do business and spend money with other companies that are not like you. And that's the mistake that right now I see the biggest need in Central Virginia is business owners that are accredited holding their vendors accredited to be accredited and thinking the same life as them. And so if I answered your question right, I mean, the employees, right, you got to hold them accountable. They've got to see that the trust exists with you. Your marketing, I always said this in the car business. I used to be the one on TV or on the radio. If I did not describe the experience you were going to experience, you were going to walk in and walk out of my company. But if I expressed the what to expect, and then you saw me working there, right? 6 days a week, they saw me there. That transferred into great employee morale and great customer satisfaction. And we led the market year in and year out. We did great things only because we all worked together, but we were who I said, my partner, my owner set the precedent. I just enabled everybody to live that dream basically, or live that lifestyle.
Okay, so I think you're saying that, like, know who you are, know what you stand for, build on that, promote it, communicate it, and live it in the way you do business, the way you're hire, attract, satisfy, and retain employees, and look for those qualities in those that you're recruiting, as opposed to looking for a rigid set of experiences or skills that you could just train them to do. Is
Correct.
that about right? Yeah. I mean, I think this is where, I mean, that is so brilliant. And I think I learned, like, when I was really young in my career, that you can only tell so much by somebody's resume. And it's really, do they have the energy and the passion for the work, and can they learn, and will they work hard? I mean, those are the qualities you want. And then there's a certain personality that would go with this, like maybe with customer service or something like that. Like a set of strengths or values that you'd look for. But the resume just doesn't tell you that much. And people put things on their resume and they can't really do them. I mean, they're surrogates for the behavior and the skills you want them to have and to exhibit on the job, and that may not necessarily translate. So this is, I think, another example of how AI is so good at turning people into resumes. And, again, we're not regarding them as humans, we're regarding them as lists on a piece of paper. And again, it's just going back to who are they as a person, and assuming that they can learn and grow, if they have the right interest and passion. And those people that you invest in are going to, again, be just so much more, the ones that you see as a person underneath the resume and that you invest in, again, they're going to reciprocate that, the care you're providing, to them. So I love that, Barry. And just going back to the mental health thing, I forgot to add that, and this also pertains to why this matters to treat people like people, is that it affects the bottom line, because the National Safety Council estimates it costs an employer over $15,000 per year to for every mentally distressed worker they have. And compared to how much would it cost to invest in their well-being or to accommodate their needs for their flexibility for their family or to make phone calls during the day or whatever, $15,000 per year per mentally distressed worker. 1 in 5 people, adults, have a mental health disorder. And then 76% are having some kind of symptom. So, you can do the math if you're an employer, how much that may be costing you. So
Sure.
it can make a profound difference to your bottom line and your ability to be successful and to attract and retain quality workforce.
The one thing, we bring up all the stats, and what we don't put a number on, because you cannot put a number on it. We're grabbing out of space somewhere. But when you're dealing with customers and you lose that customer, the saying is they're going to tell 250 people or whatever. And with social media, they could tell 1,000. So it's bigger than any number you and I could agree on using to talk to people, because it sounds so high. It's a lot higher than that number. And then if you're in a production business and that seat is empty, I try to explain that. I was with somebody today, and I tried to explain to them, again, with your toolbox, I'll call it, and what you guys offer. I tried to explain. I said, and I've told you this before. Listen, I've been around the insurance company world, has given 800 numbers to employees if they need to call somebody for mental health, marriage, divorce, gambling, suicide. Well, yet we still have plenty of suicides happening and people really starving for attention or help. And so that isn't working right. So to offer your employees, and that's where there's 94 of me in the country and in Canada as leaders of these BBB offices. I have Central Virginia. The difference I bring is I'm not afraid to go out and agree that I know people deal with mental health issues, anxiety. I know firsthand what suicide looks like, possibly, and see it in their eyes. I've had employees that have happened, not me personally, but I've lived it. And I've stood and I say, how did we miss that? Well, you can't pull the covers off everybody. And that's why, the drug addiction is so high. It's 60, 65%, 70% of the workforce. We're going to be doing something in October in our office with Rob Whitman's a congressman and the head of the DEA in Richmond and the commissioner of Homeland Security here in Virginia, talking about fentanyl. It's a very simple topic. If you don't think drugs are a problem or whatever, the head of the DEA here, Chris, said to me, and I quote him all the time, years ago when we were kids, we made mistakes, but we learned from them. Today, children are making a mistake with fentanyl and they're going to their grave. There is no making up. It is terrorism. It is something we have to deal with. And I believe with your modules and the things I've seen, topics that you guys are offering, your whole team is bringing solutions. It's not made up. It's not going to I don't want to criticize any groups, but it's not getting together, rah, sharing leads with each other, how to make money. We're not fixing anything in our community anymore. We 7 out of 10 people supposedly now can't write a check for $1,000. What are we going to groups and trying to share business cards and perpetuate nothingness? It's empty, hollow words. And there's people profiting on those groups, which is fine. If it's a business and you want to pay for them, good. But if you can't write a check for $1,000, you're a grown adult. That means you lose your paycheck for 1 or 2 weeks. You're done. That's how serious. And we learned that at COVID, but we forgot about it. Our credit card debt is skyrocketing, and we need some financial disciplines. We had a wake up call in 20 and 21. We didn't learn anything from it. And unfortunately, that anxiety is going to keeping up with the Joneses, is what I call it in Virginia, in Richmond. Keeping up with the Joneses. I've never seen it. New Jersey, it kind of existed, but not so blatantly. In Richmond, I see it all the time. And I saw it in the car business. My buddy's got a Denali. I got to have a Denali. No, you don't, buddy. You know you don't. And then the last thing I would say is, for the workplace and the people coming into the workplace from a Better Business Bureau standpoint, again, I'm one of the few, are saying you need workers, Mr. Accredited Business, Miss Accredited Business. Let's go to the HARP program at Chesterfield County Jail and learn what those inmates in recovery are going through. They're being tutored and taught how to come back out with life skills. There's nobody better to hire than somebody who's been incarcerated, depending on what they're incarcerated for. But for the most part, they're the best employees because they don't want to go back. And then they're so thankful for the job. And I've employed a lot of people like that. And then real life started at Richmond City Jail with C.T. Woody. Dr. Scarborough is running it. He's got 12 group homes in this Chesterfield area, Richmond area. Great employees. But when they get out, they need products like you're offering with those modulars. So if I hire them, I've got to offer them some help. Sorry, I went too long.
No, not at all. I love your passion, Barry, leading with so much heart. It's so evident. This is WRWK 93.9 FM. This is Finding Our Fit, and I'm Susanna Wu-Pong Calvert, having the pleasure of chatting with Barry Moore, President and CEO of the Better Business Bureau of Central Virginia. We're talking about Start with Trust. And you can see that Barry is such a stellar role model for being trustworthy, cares so much about his customers, clients, business partners, employees, and the community. So if you want to talk with Barry, give us a call at 804-464-1089 or pop something in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Well, I think it's easy to see, when you talk, Barry, what trust looks like, because you're so transparent about who you are, what you stand for, and that other people matter to you. And that has surely got to be a winning combination for your work and your career and the impact you've had on the organizations and customers you've served, and especially for Central Virginia businesses and consumers. Like you're the walking billboard for creating trust. And I would just imagine anybody listening would just feel so inspired by your example. But aside from just, being you and what you've already said about knowing who you are and building on that and communicating it and taking care of others and helping them with whatever, or accommodating and supporting them as they manage their lives and circumstances so that they can do their jobs well. Do you have any specific recommendations and practices that people can do? I mean, obviously they could become accredited with the Better Business Bureau. It's a great seal of trust and responsibility for the businesses. What else might you suggest for people who are listening?
I think it starts with who am I, right? So that story I told at the Chesterfield Food Bank 15 years ago. And I used to say it in Richmond City Jail when I used to go to speak to the gentlemen and the women. First of all, never judge the book, right? Whoever the color of their skin, don't think that one is different than the other. Don't look at me and think that I grew up with a silver spoon, because you know nothing about me. And I told the people at the food bank back in the 70s, we didn't have food banks that my father never would apply for unemployment, but our meal for 3 nights, family of 4, was a half gallon of ice cream. And so you look at me and I'm pretty big. I've never had good eating habits because I grew up like that. And everything's worked out well. I think you can't be a victim mentality. I talk to hand up versus hand out. Not a handout guy. I don't ever expect it. My father taught me that. I mean, we starved to death. Lights turned off, gas turned off, water turned off. You think it's happened on the other side of town? No, it's happening right in your neighborhood. When I ran for office, I tried to explain to people, when I was running for Senate, I tried to explain to people that I clearly understood what was happening 5 doors to the right, 5 doors to the left of where I lived. I lived in a nice neighborhood. I clearly understood it. And the opponent kind of laughed at me and basically, that doesn't happen here. Well, trafficking, we're now starting to pay attention. Trafficking of human trafficking is happening in our community. So pay attention, be involved wherever you can be with your passion. Don't just donate money to a nonprofit and go to a gala and drink all night and get dressed up in costumes, because it's empty. There's nothing there. You want to make a difference. There's one called Pink Chair. The one woman, Linda, told me about it. She buys chairs for women that had breast cancer and had their breasts removed and they have drains in them. They need to sleep in a recliner. That's a reason to donate. That's something you could put it's a tangible. We're making a difference. That's a real nonprofit. American Cancer, Alzheimer's are all very good. Walk Like Mad is a big deal. So I think get involved with real causes. I say all the time, like you use the word, everything matters. Everything matters. Nothing goes unnoticed. Even if you think you're doing something on the sly or underhanded in business, you're going to get caught. If you're not accredited, that's fine. But that's not the way to start business. It matters. And it all will come home to roost someday. I always grew up when I played football. My coach used the Vince Lombardi, be your best. That's always been my goal for no matter where I worked, and a goal for my team, be the best. It's 3 words, be your best. And whatever that means to you, do it well and be a student of your industry. I believe that Richmond as my calling. I came back from Pittsburgh. I never thought I'd be back. I love the community. I love the people. I want to make a difference. And I think God put me back. I mean, just to go to the chapel downtown in Scott's Addition is why I'm here. I mean, that's what's fueling me to get through the other 6 days. I need fuel. You need to I don't need pats on the back. Sure, I need more businesses accredited. Yes, I need more complaints handled quicker and more professionally from the businesses. Just be your best. So that's who I am. And never, ever think you're better than somebody else. And my dad used to teach me, he was that guy, all these sitcoms. My dad was the guy that would talk to the janitor the way he would talk to, he was in government. So he would talk to the mayor or his boss or a senator the same way he would talk to anybody. And that's who I am. I've never changed. And that's instilled. And that goes back to how important family is. With your courses, anxiety and stress, man, we got to try to keep the family unit together. Debbie Johnson with adoption and foster care for so many years in Virginia. Big difference, making a difference in people's lives.
Wow. So, I mean, I love that, and what you say is so consistent with the science of well-being, in terms of meaning and purpose, that it is just so much, it's so valuable to do things that are meaningful and valuable to, for others. Not only is it good at building trust, but it is literally more beneficial to someone who's generous and giving than it is to the person who receives it. So, so give generously, especially to causes that you're passionate about and where you can see it makes a real difference. And have balance. Like, you have to take care of yourself and your income, but giving back is really important too. And it benefits everybody. It creates trust.
Yes.
that humility and striving for excellence, such wonderful things, and being a learner. So with regards to what you were saying about being a good listener, to your customers and your employees, and really just to everyone, and to take care of those relationships. The Foundation for Family and Community Healing is all about that. So our flagship module is called Relationship Wellbeing. It's about knowing yourself, and managing others. So you were saying, like, know who you are, and take care of those around you, listen and respond appropriately. And we have two modules that are just on listening, because my belief is that so much of what troubles us in the world right now is because, we have been taught how to do persuasive speeches and analyzing things and maybe reading stuff, but we're not really taught how to listen to each other. We're not even taught how to listen to ourselves. Like, I'm a big advocate for listening to yourself, and that's how you know who you are. That's how you know what matters to you. That's how you know when you're doing something that feels meaningful as opposed to something that just to make a dollar. So those are such essential life skills that not only build trust and help you be successful, but they're good for our mental and emotional and relationship resilience and well-being, which is in such incredibly short supply right now. We have just, I think we do many things really well in the Western world, and there are some things that we just haven't paid attention to, and they've fallen through the cracks, and we're suffering the consequences of that. And
Yes.
I feel, Barry, that not everybody, you've alluded to this, that not everybody understands it, or if they do, they're not quite ready to face that, whether it's in our own lives or in the lives of our loved ones or in our workplaces or communities. Like, we kind of have our fingers in our ears, metaphorically, and, our eyes over our hands. Like, we're just not ready to deal with it. And I really understand that, because it's scary. We don't know what to do or how to do it. But it doesn't have to be hard and scary. There's lots of resources, and this is something that we're putting out there, and with the help of people like you, Barry, that it doesn't have to be scary. We can start with our own wellness and building on our wellness and resilience, and that those same skills can help us if we happen to fall into mental or emotional health crises, and help us climb back out with some additional tools in addition to medical and psychological support. So there's so much more we can do, and it can just help us live a better life in general, as well as making us more resilient, more successful, more productive, and have better lives.
Absolutely. I hope we see a lot of people August 15th. We still got tickets available. We have room for 70 people to meet you and your team. I cannot wait. It's going to be exciting. And I just thank you. I mean, publicly, privately, I am so grateful that I ran into you by chance. And
It was so by chance.
I believe in you guys so much. I mean, I really, truly do. And you're an answer to many prayers. So you're going to help so many different ways that you don't even know about. But I know that's your goal and your focus. But I know it's going to work, and continue to help people, because, like I said, everything matters.
Everything matters, and everybody matters.
Yes.
Well, I thank you so much for your support and your partnership with this, Barry. I love that we are partnering to offer this workshop to the community. So come check us out at healingedu.org so that you can register. It's on August 15th in the morning at the Better Business Bureau offices. And come learn your resilience skills, your listening skills, the get to know yourself skills, so that you could build trust and a more successful workplace for you and your employees and customers. And Barry, why don't you tell people how they can find you and your nonprofit organization?
Sure. So it's always as a consumer, and that's who I really try to talk to. Never do any transaction or buy anything. Go to bbb.org. It's very easy. bbb.org or BBB Scam Tracker. Call me 804-521-6940. I don't have any gatekeepers. I take all my calls and I work out of my Buick, like I said. I really apologize for this.
Oh
I
gosh,
know the
Barry,
camera's driving you crazy.
no, you're beautiful, and thank you so much for being so trustworthy, even when you're dealing with your own personal situation. And I wish you and your wife the very best and
Thank you.
all of the recovery to her going forward. And thank you for just sharing your beautiful self on Finding Our Fit today, but also with all of Central Virginia, just to our great benefit.
It was great. Thank you very much.
So that's it for Finding Our Fit. Back to you, Ron.
Oh my gosh. So it is. Yes, there's that the homely guy with the bald thing off there with the earphones on. Very great show. I love to hear this. I love to hear the idea there's something more important than profit. You got to stay in business, but you don't have to do unpleasant things. In fact, I'm going to read you my little soliloquy. This is our birthday month, so I feel compelled to read it, but I'll let you go offline so I can just read it to the public at large. This is WRWK. This is Finding Our Fit. I'm really thrilled that we're still working hard and sincerely to do it. And lots of good people like Susanna and Barry and millions of people out there, not all listeners, of course, are trying to make it work. And God bless us all. Maybe make ourselves useful. So I'm going to end this broadcast and bye-bye. All right.